You.
I'm a little tired. It was a long travel day yesterday. I had one of those 6 a.m. flights, which meant I got like 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah,
But I've never been so happy because I got upgrades to first class out of two Atlanta legs yesterday.
that's unreal.
Thank
That is
you,
unreal.
Diamond members, for having off from work yesterday.
Hey, I'm a Diamond member, and even I don't get upgraded all the time. Okay, like it's
It's
it's it's
Atlanta. It's
it's
Atlanta.
Atlanta. It is Atlanta. It is absolutely Atlanta. So you're in Florida doing a little bit of a personal vacay, right?
Yeah, uh, vacay with lots of asterisks. I mean, I'm still working, but my dad's down here. He spent about a week with my sister.
Okay.
So I'm gonna fly him home on Thursday. But yeah, I came down to do some familial stuff, and the beauty of working remotely, you can take it with you.
Absolutely. Well, it is top of the hour. Let's get started, guys. It is Today in Travel. We do this every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. Talk about everything in the travel industry, tips, tricks, news, good, the bad, the ugly. Well, I am Jason Poole. I am a travel advisor with Cruise Planners and just love talking all things travel with my bestie, the travel goddess, the hotel goddess. Haley, say hello. Why should anybody listen to a word you say?
They shouldn't. No, no, I'm
They
kidding.
should.
My name is Haley. I am a travel blogger, and I've been working in the hotel industry for 16 years, and I own the hotel sales support company, Hospitality with a Flair. And we've got a lot to talk about today. I know we had to cancel last week because it was
We do.
chaos, and
It was.
there's a lot to catch up on.
There's a lot to catch up on. Some of this stuff happened a week ago, but I still think it's worth diving in. Well, if you remember a few years ago, American Airlines and JetBlue joined a partnership. Like JetBlue was kind of a semi member of One World, which is American's global alliance. They called it the Northeast Partnership. They did the alliance because they said they needed to compete mainly like with Delta in that region, places like Boston, where JetBlue is strong, American's not, but Delta has a really strong presence
Well,
in
they're
places like
growing their presence in Boston.
they are. So AA and JetBlue had this partnership. I mean, you could book JetBlue flights at AA.com. You could book AA flights at JetBlue.com. You could earn your AA status with JetBlue. I mean, they were kind of like semi part of One World. It wasn't just like a little partnership. I mean, they were like quasi One World members.
Yeah.
And the Department of Justice sued, saying it was anti-competitive. And last week, the a judge ruled that AA and JetBlue have to break up and end their partnership. Of course, AA and JetBlue are appealing the decision, but I thought it was interesting because we haven't seen the DOJ really pursue breakups and judges side with against companies. So I am very anxious to see how this turns
I
out.
am too, because it's on a micro level, as a consumer, it's nice to see a little bit more checks and balance there.
Hmm.
But on that macro level, I mean, they've been operating like this for
Some time.
some time now, and it kind of makes me wonder now, if they lose their appeal, what does that look like for JetBlue? Because I mean, like, Delta's been putting a really huge push
Hmm.
in that Boston market.
Hmm.
I
Look,
don't
I mean, I think
I mean,
JetBlue.
I feel like JetBlue needs this.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, you don't merge to lower prices. Okay.
Mhm.
You merge, right? You merge to consolidate and to raise prices, right? So if this doesn't go through, I assume it's going to have start more of a pricing where JetBlue is going to have to lower its prices, which should force Delta to lower its prices. And then which is good for consumers. More competition is good for consumers. Why
Well,
is
and that's kind of what's funny is JetBlue transitioned from being more of a la Southwest style
Mhm.
economy carrier to setting itself up to be a bit more like the big boys with their, basic economy, one bag included. they line themselves like an American without a first class.
Yeah, but you know what though? They do have mint on their
But
long haul
that's just for their long haul legs,
long
but,
haul,
like,
and I've heard mint is
I
fantastic.
have too, but then I look at the points because I can transfer points, I think, from my Chase
Right.
to JetBlue, and I'm just like, "Eesh."
And it's also like, oh, I'd rather use those points to qualify,
Mhm.
with Delta, it's a thing. It's
It's
it's a thing.
it's
So
the tale as old as time debate.
it is. It absolutely is. So interesting. The appeal will probably take years, so hopefully we'll have a resolution soon. But I am anxious to see where this goes. Now, oh my goodness, you guys know my pet peeve are resort fees. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them.
I know, I was able to send you that new screenshot on Marriott.com.
Out. So Texas settled with Marriott. Yay, because there were some laws that Marriott had to include the resort fees, and Marriott just kind of didn't do it. And so we see some states sue. Texas is one of the most recent ones who sued. Texas settled with Marriott, yay. And then Texas now has looked over at Hyatt, my dear beloved Hyatt, and
And
has
there's a
said,
state that just did Hilton too recently. They're like, "Well."
right. So, I mean, good. Good. I mean,
Yeah,
I think this is a smart move. I'm glad we are seeing this from, if you're not American, you don't understand maybe some of the like blue state, red state cultural political divide. But we've now seen this happen from like red states and blue states. So I'm glad this is like
we
not
can
a
agree on
partisan,
something.
right. This is not a partisan issue. This is hey, this is just not great.
Well, it's just and if you're going to have a resort fee, like, I don't complain about the idea and realm of it, but it needs to be worth the while.
Yeah.
And it needs to be represented, of course, appropriately. But when I see a resort fee that's like, it includes use of our fitness center and Wi-Fi, I'm like,
So let me ask you this: for cruise lines who don't include complimentary gratuities, is that any different?
cruising, I feel like is a bit of a different topic because of the wage situation.
Okay.
Um, because if you think about it, the way that the cruise lines almost kind of set themselves up pricing wise is kind of how we pay our active military.
Okay.
It's a lower wage because it includes housing and whatnot, but then there's service factors. I would like to say in a perfect world, you just charge a bit more, include that fee,
Mhm.
because there are some people that, culturally do not pay tips normally.
True. That is true.
Um, and then there's some people that even if you have somebody that does a great job, that's just like, I didn't think it was that great. I want my gratuities off.
Right. It's just something I just thought about. It's not
Yeah.
that different than.
I mean, in a perfect world, you pay people a living wage.
Right. I agree. I agree. Well, let's talk about the topic that everybody is losing their minds on. Okay. So, Royal Caribbean International and Celebrity Cruises, both part of the Royal Caribbean group, are changing their suite deposit rules. Okay. So, with Royal Caribbean and Celebrity, deposits were pretty much the same with balconies and suites. Sometimes, like the top suites would sometimes require double deposits, but for the most part, the suites and the regular rooms had the same deposit. You could go to next cruise, put $100 down, book an inside cabin, book a junior suite, book a grand suite, book a sky suite, right? And so they just made this change. It actually goes into effect this week. After any new booking on or after June 1st, if you book a suite, so with Royal Caribbean, that is going to be a junior suite and above, celebrity, sky suite and above. It requires a non refundable 10% of the cruise fare as the deposit. Now, you can still do the $100 per person change fee if you need to change sailing. So it's not like if you have to change, you're just out of luck. Um, some people are losing their minds over this. I think unwarranted.
I I like roundabout numbers, so I think that's where I just like knowing what X is. But on the back end business side, I get it because sometimes I think because deposits can be so cheap,
Hmm.
you can be like, "Oh yeah, this is the pipe dream. This is what I want to book." And more often that you're holding inventory that's not going to actualize. I'd be really interested to see the data and the statistics on that.
So just, I without, I don't have raw numbers, but just anecdotally, as a travel advisor, I see tons of people go to next cruise, throw $100 down on an expensive suite, and cancel at a final payment. So that is inventory that has been held from the cruise lines where they could have been trying to sell it, and
Mhm.
it's gone. It's more work for the travel advisor, right? Because they've made the reservation, and then they have,
Proves to yeah.
right. So I think this is great. People who were complaining it's too much money, I'm just going to say it. Then maybe you shouldn't be booking this suite. Okay.
Yeah.
If you can't afford $1,000 deposit, then maybe you shouldn't book a $10,000 suite.
Yeah.
Right. And I do understand the criticism of, well, that's $1,000 non-refundable, which is a lot of money. That's a lot of money for non-refundable. It is, but you can still move it for just $100 a person. So
Yeah.
it's not like it's just gone forever. So I applaud them. This is very common in the premium to luxury space. A lot
So,
of places
an
do
idea
it.
that comes to my head, so when you change a flight on, like, Delta, you can call cancel and use that credit to book
Hmm.
another flight with no change fees. How do you feel about change fees in cruise world not being like that? I think it's a little outdated personally.
Yeah, I could.
I think it's you take the credit and you put on a new sailing because that for example, I had the original inaugural Apex booked for
Right.
April 2020, and I did end up canceling it because we decided to do, something a little different because it was pricey, and I had my child with me, so we had 2 rooms, I'm just kinda like, I'm like, "Why don't we could do a bit more with this budget." And I think what was it, like a month or so later, the pandemic hit, they canceled the sailing.
Right.
I still got boned
You did.
out of that $100 per person,
You did.
and I think that's kind of crap.
Mm,
I guess don't give it back to me, but let me put it on another sailing.
yeah, I could make the argument of a non-refundable deposit can just go back as a credit, and then you can use it. Like at
Yeah,
the airline.
I don't think it's a money back situation, I think it's, "Alright, you can apply that credit," like you would an airline, you'd get a Delta credit,
Mhm.
put it on the next flight.
Yeah, I could be on board with that. I think that is a little more pro-consumer versus being just punitive for the sake of being punitive.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
because I just on the hotel side, unless it's a true, like, I am consciously booking because there's a variety set of rates between refundable, non-refundable, etcetera. I mean, in cruise world, you really only get the choice between 2
right.
rates, and I mean, when you scale that in the realm of pricing compared to refundable rates, like, cruising is an astronomical difference.
Unless you have access to exclusive rates with like a travel advisor.
Yeah.
So, most of my clients that are not in suites are paying less than the website. And those are refundable
And
rates.
it's just like in hotel world, more often than not, attrition used to be a thing, a very big thing.
Mhm.
And it still is in like bigger hotels where you're taking bigger chunks of inventory during demand dates. But most hotels these days, when you're booking a hotel group rate, do a 30-day cutoff. That
Mhm.
gives the hotel 30 days to resell whatever rooms are not booked.
Totally fair.
And that's just something that popped into my head
No,
as you
I agree. I
I'm still
agree.
a little bitter.
No, I think it's fine. And look, I hope this encourages people to be a little smarter. So there's been a lot of questions. Even if you go to next cruise, the positives are still the same for anything interior through balconies, and for celebrity interior through Aqua Class, still the same, $100 for non-refundable deposit. But even at next cruise, the suites are going to require the 10% of cruise fare as a deposit. You still get all of the onboard credit perks. So now next cruise is really turning into a venue
Yeah,
to
I
give
mean, in
onboard
essence, they're
credit.
just using this policy to qualify the booking more.
And I'm totally okay with that. I
And I
mean,
think and I think given especially the realm and the state of like the newer ships, the sizing,
mhm,
suite amenities and perks, you do want to shore that up because I think that's part of the situation that led to me getting such a great deal on the Apex
right.
last minute with a guarantee. Is I guarantee some of those fell off.
Right. Would they would have rather have
I mean,
sold that.
well, yeah, I mean, because there were quite a few of them left. I mean, Easter week, that's still a busy
It
week
is. It
for
is.
the,
So I like that phrase, qualifying the booking. I think that is a great way to look at it. Like if you can't afford the 10%, you're probably not going to make final payment.
because as much as you want to sit there, like a lot of the people in our group, like Ann and Josh are watching right now, like a majority of the time, I don't typically put a deposit down that I don't end up cruising because it's just like, well,
Mhm.
I'm not one of those people ruining it, but on a big scale. And I mean, like you referenced earlier, it happens a lot
It happens a
more than
lot.
people realize. Like, I mean, it's kind of like the conversation that I have with brides and grooms, like, oh, I need 50 rooms for my wedding block. I've worked
Right.
with hundreds of hotels over the last 16 years, and I can count on one hand how many times I've seen a wedding block pick up more than 20 rooms.
Right.
Like all over the country, internationally, it
Yeah, no, right. No, absolutely.
happens
Absolutely.
a lot more than you think.
Absolutely. Well, this last news topic is actually going to affect you.
Yes and no, because I laugh because Jason and I talked about this a little bit pre-show. I had actually just did all the paperwork, completed all the paperwork for Olivia to get global entry.
Oh, okay.
Because when a child turns 13, they lose that companion pre-check.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? We travel enough internationally. I have 3 different travel credit cards that have that $100 global
Well, I'll
entry
just sign her
credit.
up for global entry. Right.
Did that, and I was able to actually do it when we go to Rome in August. We have a 6-hour layover in Detroit, and I just booked it for that day during that
Awesome.
layover.
Awesome.
I'm like, we'll leave security, hop back and clear, come back through, and
Love it. Well,
easy forever when you come home.
if your kid doesn't have global entry, the TSA said this past week that so if you had TSA and you had anybody under 13, they got TSA pre-check with you, the parent
Mhm.
status. They've now expanded that from anybody up to 17 now.
I love
So
'cause I literally did this a month ago because of
right. So
this.
now,
I
so
probably would have wrote it out a little longer, but I
um,
mean,
it'll be good to have global entry, when you come
yeah.
back. I mean, that'll be nice. But I think this is great for parents that have teenagers or traveling. I think this is going to hopefully help some of the security lines. I like this.
Well, it comes back to that consumer point of view, and I thought that the cutoff was kind of ridiculous. I'm like, my 13-year-old can't book her own flight.
Right. All right. Well, we have some great question and tip of the day. Let's. You ready to tick or
Yes, let
tick
me
off our?
we're trying as you guys have seen these new floats here. I love this question.
I think so. I kind of want to expand it, but we kind of running out of space. Travel companions, they don't have pre-check or they don't have lounge access. Okay. So this is I saw this question on an article. I don't remember which website it was, but it was I was traveling with some work, some coworkers. They didn't have pre-check. They did not have lounge access. I had both. I left them and just said, "See you on the plane or see you at the destination." So, Haley, do you think it's okay to ditch your travel companion if they don't have pre-check or lounge
So,
access?
I think it's very situational. So, I used to ditch Jeff all the time in pre-check. I'm like, I don't wait in lines. I'll see you after. Um, the lounge stuff, because I travel so frequently, I can get into any lounge with guests
Yeah.
if I needed to, because I have priority pass for the places that don't have sky clubs.
Hmm.
And now that Olivia's turning 13, she'll be going, but like Jeff has a reserve card that's part of my card. I got him his,
Hmm.
partner card, and we're going to get one for Olivia. She will not be holding this card. But if you have that reserve card, you get into the Sky Club for free. I used to make the decision initially before getting the reserve card of how long is my layover versus what it costs to get my guest into a Sky Club situation. But if it's a work trip and it's a decent enough layover, I'm using the lounge because it cuts my travel expenses down. Like I'm not paying for food, I'm not paying for drinks. I need a quiet place to work. Like one of the things I love about that Nashville Sky Club are those little like zero noise pods.
I've taken calls in there.
Same,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, I think it's fair.
I do too.
But
Now, so I actually had this happen recently. I just got back from that Cruise Planner Elite Summit, and I got a transfer to the airport with one of the cruise line executives. So we shared a car to the airport. We checked in together. We went to security, and we got to the lounge, and it was for Delta One only, and she wasn't with Delta One, and she could not go into the lounge. And I didn't think she could, but I thought maybe it's a priority pass lounge. It wasn't. The one next door was, and honestly, the lounges kind of were terrible. I should have left and gone with her to like shop, and like the lounge was not that nice.
yeah.
But I kind of I felt a little awkward because they were like, Mr. Poole, you're welcome. Scan hers, then she couldn't come, and I was like, well, like you, Haley, I was like, I kind of wanted to cut down my business expenses and, eat in there, and have a place to work with great Wi-Fi. So, yeah, so I've had that happen. Now, would I've ditched friends at the airport who don't have pre-check, but then I'll kind of wait for them and get them like into the lounge. Okay. So I will ditch people that don't have pre-check. I've ditched people that don't have global entry.
Oh
Like
yeah. I'm always like, bye, Jeff.
I'm not waiting in the global entry line. Like you could sign up for global entry just like I did. I'm not waiting in that line. Um, if there's a situation where I couldn't get my traveling companion into the lounge, I don't know that I would be a total jerk and go in the lounge and leave them sitting outside the lounge.
I'd go in and be like, hey, I'm gonna grab a quick bite to eat.
Yeah, sure.
Why don't you go eat? I'm gonna go eat. We'll meet.
I could do that. I
Yeah.
could do that. I thought that was
What's
just
nice is
interesting.
I kind of would love to see more of these options, and I'm not entirely sure if there will be more, but like in Atlanta and B, they have an express club in the bottom of the main club where you can walk in, kind of get like a bag breakfast and like
Oh, so United has been doing this like express lounge thing where it's almost like a convenience store. You just walk in.
oh, that's
You,
what it is in the bottom of B in Atlanta. I just saw it for the first time a couple
oh,
weeks.
I haven't seen it yet. I love that idea. Just go in, grab something, and like you can get
I
out.
mean, that's like adding value because if you think about like we have like those breakfast grab bags at Hampton
Hmm.
that have to be out like by brand standard by 5 a.m. and it's just like a granola bar, muffin, a piece of fruit, and a bottle of water.
Hmm.
Yeah, like that costs like nothing.
No, I like that.
That's
I
actually technically better for your breakfast costs
You're right,
because they're more shelf stable.
right, right, right. So Josh says if you're inviting people to go with you, ditching them is rude. I disagree that ditching them through pre-check is rude. because I don't want to have to take out all my stuff in the bag, take off my
That's
jacket,
it
take off
exactly. Because
my
when
belt.
I'm traveling for a trip, I've got the drone, I've got the camera, I've got my
Right,
laptops, like, that's the reason. Honestly, it's not even as much skipping and going to a shorter line. It's I
right.
have so much electronic equipment.
I like leaving but you're allowed to bring one laptop, one iPad in the bag. I leave it, go through security, leave on my shoes, leave on the belt. It's just a faster experience. And I mean, like I said, maybe ditching it for the lounge, maybe the little rude. I can kind of get on board with that, especially if it's hours. But I don't think
Yeah.
ditching people
I
for
think going in and getting a meal and popping back out, I think that's fine because part of the reason I carry that perk is to, like, save myself on money. The reason I'm able to do XYZ
right. I
is
agree.
because, I save money, I use my card credits and stuff like that.
I agree. I agree. Well, let's get to our travel tip of the day. And I just did this one.
Okay, explain.
So I think it is a great idea when you are going to a destination, and maybe this is more a night or two pre-cruise in a city. But look, even if you're just going on a vacation somewhere, it is always a good idea to Google the city, events, and like the date you're going. And most cities have websites where they show you a list of things that are happening in the city, like by date. And I've done this before. I was in Barcelona last summer and I saw the Magic Flute. It was an opera in Barcelona. I just thought about it and booked it. And it was great. Haley and I were talking about my summer trip to Rome coming up in almost a month. And then she said, "Did you check if there's any operas happening?" And I was like, "No."
I love the one that I went to in November.
I was like, "I totally forgot." The summer's typically not opera season. But I was like, I totally forgot. And guess what? Madame Butterfly is being performed in Rome when I'm there. I've never seen it. And I am so excited one night to just get kind of dressed up, go get a cocktail in Rome, and go see Madame Butterfly while I'm in Rome. So I
And the
think
theater's so pretty too.
it's the same one. Nice.
Teatro dell'Opera, right?
I don't remember. I'll look it up later. I'm sure. But I just think that is a great, great idea. Seeing an opera in Barcelona was great. I cannot wait to see one in Rome. And it's just something different, right? Than just another just walk through the streets and eating
Well,
another.
that's why, like that Instagram reel that I have that's doing, like, really well right now. It's like, here are 5 things that you can do in Rome that are not Colosseum, Vatican, Trevi Fountain, like, different experiences, and I think that's so important because so many people are quick to write off, Rome, Paris, London because they hit all of the major tourist attractions, like, been there, done that, don't wanna do it again, just, there's so many more things
I agree.
that you can do, like, Paris, like, take the train down to Versailles, it's 30 minutes,
Right.
and Versailles is incredible. Like, I've done the whole, museum walk through Versailles. I'd go back in a heartbeat because there's still so much more stuff to do on the grounds.
Right.
But no, that's so important. Another way I'm gonna kinda shift this a little bit is you should be doing this before you book as well, especially if you're doing a land trip. Um, Because I can't tell you from the hotel side how many people will be like, "Oh my god, why is it so expensive?" And it's like, like, I mean, I just had that for my hand. Well, there's 2 baseball tournaments.
Or I mean, think about when you were here in Nashville earlier this month, right? Like there was an arts festival, there was some sort of like beer festival,
Oh, beer convention, like, it was a Brewers Association
Brewers Association, there
something.
was some sort of like arts festival, and there was this artist in town, small
Janet Jackson?
Janet Jackson, Taylor Swift, right? So if you just planned a weekend in Nashville, looked at the hotel rate, you would be like, uh, this is
It was the most crazy thing. That weekend in Nashville looks like major European cities peak summer rates,
yeah, it was.
if not more.
No, if not more. still feel like I'm recovering from that crazy weekend. But yeah, I think this is a great idea. If you're planning a trip somewhere, just Google what's happening. Look, you might find something that is going to be just amazing, and you would have no awareness of it if it just takes 2 minutes to Google it. So
Yeah,
I think this is a great, great, great tip. So, Haley, if there's nothing else, I guess that is a wrap.
absolutely it is.
Enjoy Florida. Go get some sun.
I did. I
And
was in the salt water a little bit yesterday talking with Jason. I was like, my stress level just went.
I love it. I love it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching. Hope you learned something new. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Haley with the Flair and at Jason
Jason
Pool
Pool Travel.
Travel. Thank you, guys. All right. We'll see you next week. See you, Haley.
Bye.